Hey guys, how you doing? I actually remembered to put the Harry Potter book up in the background in this video, and I will probably forget to do that in multiple videos in the future, so forgive me, but I will try to remember as best as I can. Alright, are you guys ready? Because this is going to be a big one. I'm announcing huge change in this video. Are you ready, Barry? We're doing a complete overhaul, a complete and utter restructuring of the way this channel goes. We're taking the track that this channel's on, and we're pulling the lever, and we're shifting it over to greener pastures. That's what I say. Up and beyond. Alright. So I was looking at my analytics page the other day to see out of all of the videos I've made over the years, because you understand I've been making YouTube videos for over 10 years, right? That's insane. But I'm looking at all my videos I've done, and I'm looking at the ones that got the most views, the highest response rates, the videos that the people want to see from the Tekking101 channel, and I think that the answer is abundantly clear. Swords! People want to see videos about swords. Look at this. The All Bankai video, Zoro's video, the Sword Rank Meito video, Ichigo's new Bankai video, all sword related. Then right under that, we have the 21 best boobs in One Piece, so maybe I'll include a few videos about that at some point, but mostly swords! So that's it. You know what we're doing? We'll still talk about One Piece on the channel. I'm not changing too much. We'll still talk about One Piece, but we can only talk about characters in One Piece that use swords. Don't try to, turn me off of it. This is the direction I've decided to take. So that means Zoro, Tashigi, Kinemon, Law's videos, of course, today, Mihawk, Shanks, Brook. Brook uses a sword. We could talk about him. Even Luffy. Luffy did use a sword at one point during the manga, so we could still talk about Luffy. But beyond that, hey, listen, man, I really love Frankie. He's my favorite Straw Hat. Oh, I know! Well, okay, Frankie doesn't use a sword. The Frankie Shogun uses a sword. So we can't talk about Frankie. We can only talk about the Frankie Shogun. It's gonna be a little choppy waters for a while, but I think it'll work out for everybody's benefit, okay? Alright, so with that being said, today's video is going to be about Law's sword, his cursed sword, Kikoku, also known as Oni's Cry or Ghost Wail. And Ah! The hell was that? Maybe it's my tinnitus. Let's try again. No. It's definitely the sword. It's definitely the sword. Yep, definitely the sword. Now I do have tinnitus. Damn it. Okay. So, I'm gonna try not to draw it from now on. But anyway, yeah. So, I should apologize right out of the gate, by the way, because this is a sorry-looking Kikoku. This is one of the oldest katanas I got. I actually got this for Christmas like 3-4 years ago, and it shows the little scrunchy thing that Law usually has on his guard. That fell off years ago. The tassel that was wrapped around the scabbard, that's gone. And the blade itself is looking really gotta stop doing that. But yeah, the blade itself is not looking too good, so I'm probably gonna have to pick up a new Kikoku at some point. So yeah, I've made a lot of videos about Law in the past, and yet have never talked about his sword. Now, many of you might say Law's sword is nothing special. Oda talked about it in an SBS once. He mentioned that its name is Kikoku. It uses the kanji for that kanji can either be read as Oni or ghost, but I think Oni or demon is probably the main thing. And then the other one is to cry or to weep or to wail. So Oni wail, ghost cry, ghost wail. Any of those could kind of connect back to what it is. And we'll be getting to the significance of the name in a second. But beyond the name, Oda also revealed that it was in fact not a meito sword, okay? It did not have a rank. It is not a worldly renowned sword. The meito ranks go from Wazumono, Ryu Wazumono, O Wazumono, Saijo Wazumono, and there's a different number of them for each category. There's only 12 Saijo, 21 O Wazumono, I think like 50 or something Ryu Wazumono, and we don't know how many regular Wazumono, but even like the lowest category of Wazumono, which is what Tashigi's Shigure was, and the Sandai Katetsu that Zoro has right now, those are Wazumono, like the lowest class. The Kikoku that Law wields doesn't even have a rank, okay? So that's, he said that as like, I think a lot of ways people took it was like, oh, his sword is nothing special, but we're gonna get back to that, because that speaks a few things about that. And he also mentions, though, although it does not have a meito, Oda also specified it is in fact a cursed blade, much like the Sandai Katetsu and the entire Katetsu line, alright? So first off, let's just talk about how in One Piece, whenever we come across a major character in the story that uses a bladed weapon, most of the time, that weapon weapon is going to have a meito rank. Whitebeard had Murakumo Giri. Even Cavendish he has the rapier. That's Durandal. We don't know the exact rank, but we know it is a meito. You know, Mihawk, of course, has a Saijo. Samurai Gandhi. Hey, we can still talk about Samurai Gandhi. He probably has the Shodai Kitetsu. Of course, all the characters in Wano. Now, yeah, there are characters that use bladed weapons that aren't necessarily meito rank, like random riffraff pirates, you know, that are fighting against Luffy or whatever, pull out like their little cutlasses and like charge at Luffy, and then they immediately get defeated. I'm talking about like major characters here. Buggy, he uses knives, and little fun fact that I bet you probably didn't know, all of Buggy's knives are actually Saijo Owa's mono-grade swords. Yeah, I mean, he has like 6 of them in his possession, so that's fair. That's fair. I mean, if Mihawk has one, and, you know, Samurai Gandhi has the other Saijo, you know, Murakumo Giri is a Saijo, and Griffin probably is too. That's like 4 or 5 from characters we know. You could just, you know, throw Buggy all the other ones. That's fair enough. I think that's balanced, right? But no, yeah, so the fact of a character using a sword or a spear or something as their main primary weapon, and they're actually, like, relevant to the story, and that blade not being a meito, yeah, that is something that is a little bit unusual, right? And Law is very relevant to this story. He's one of the worst generation. He's a supernova, and he's been an ally of the Straw Hat Pirates, and he's playing a very critical role. Matt Mercer. Oh my God! That was such a deeply layered joke, and I did it completely by accident. Oh my God. I'm not even going to explain that joke. If somebody wants to explain it below in the comments, go ahead. But wow, that was like, thank you, brain. You did an amazing job with that. That was completely unintentional. All right, I'm really proud of that. All right. But anyway, yeah, Law has a very critical role in the story. You know, Punk Hazard, all the way to Dressrosa. We find out his backstory, then the whole deal with Doflamingo, and now right now he's in Wano, and he got let out of prison, and we don't know what's going on with Law right now in the story. We have no idea where he's at. If he's going to break off from the Straw Hats, or he's going to do his own thing, or if he's just doing like he's double-crossing the Straw Hats, or he's triple-crossing Kaido. Like, we have no idea what's going on with this right now. But Law is a very central character, and the fact that he has a sword that has a name and is cursed, so it's significant, but it doesn't have a meito rank, that, to me, feels like that's going to be touched upon at some point. That seems highly, highly unusual. Alright, so let me just throw it out there like this, okay? Meito is the renown of a sword. Now, it's not really clear. I'm imagining it's a combination of both. The sword master themselves, the person that actually wields the blade, I'm not going to draw that anymore, the person that actually wields the blade and uses it in battle and gains fame or perhaps infamy using the weapon, that's part of the meito rank as well. Like, oh my God, did you know Ryuma picked up that blade and he used it to slice a dragon down? That blade, Shusui, will forever be known as an Owazamono grade sword. But also, I would imagine the person that actually created the sword, the blacksmith that actually forged the blade, also would get some credit here. You know, considering also the fact that we had Tengu Yama was the one that created the Sandai Kitetsu, because he's Hitetsu, he's a descendant of the original Kitetsu. So I feel like, you know, the Kitetsu sword, you know, even before it was in the hands of a sword master, even before it was in the hands of a samurai that actually went out in the world and used it, the sword already had renown just right out of the forge, because the person that made it was also famous, okay? And we could go along with this, you know, the way that Tenguyama Hitetsu talked about the Enma to Zoro. He's like, Enma is an Owazamono grade sword. You know, Odin had it. But he was saying to Zoro, like, Zoro, you might be actually capable of raising the status of that blade. You might be able to make it a Kokuto, a black blade, and he didn't exactly say that he could increase the rank to Saijo, but I think it's about time for Zoro to have a Saijo Owazamono grade sword at this stage in the story, and if Zoro, you know, uses that blade to, like, slice down Kaido or something, you know, even Odin wasn't capable of that. If he manages to actually slice down Kaido, then the sword might actually achieve the rank of Saijo, and then it you know, that's a whole other level there. So I think it's a combination of both. The person that made the sword had certain renown, and then the way the sword is used, and through a combination of that, over the years, and over the many different sword masters and the people that wield it, because it gets passed down. You know, like, I don't think Mihawk, you know, created Yoru, or I don't think he just found it. I think it was passed on to him from his master, and so on and so forth, and these swords have been around for a very, very long time, okay? So going along with that logic of fame and meito, the person that made Kikoku, Law's sword, probably wasn't that famous. Probably wasn't like a really well-known sword master. I'm not sword master, but you know, the blacksmith that created it. He might have been just somebody that was really good at just, you know, like in this tiny little village, and he made a sword and it ended up getting cursed somehow. And the reason why it doesn't have a lot of fame or a meito grade is because of the curse. Imagine like he creates the sword, he's not really famous, he gives the sword to somebody, but it ends up getting cursed, that person ends up dying before they can do anything with it, and then the next person picks up the sword, and then they die before something could come of it, and it just continues on that way, continuing on, you know, fewer and fewer people want to pick the damn thing up because it has such a reputation of being cursed, and so finally it ends up in Law's hands. Like maybe Law is like the first person to actually use Kikoku without, you know, him dying from it, right? Or subjecting himself to the curse. And maybe through Law, as a really renowned pirate in the world and a member of the Worst Generation, through Law's handling of this weapon, it will eventually gain a meito rank of Wazumoto or Ryu Wazumoto or beyond, okay? Fun fact, you know, Law does not really use this sword as a sword very often. He usually uses it just in conjunction with his Oppi Oppi no Mi. He opens up a room and then he just uses the sword as like a scalpel or like an extension of himself, or he's waving it around and he'll like activate room, and then using shambles he'll like make the slicing motion just to make it more easy, so when he's like dissecting or vivisecting somebody, it separates apart and he can like, you know, put them around into these weird grotesque, you know, fashions and stuff. He does use the sword. When he fought against Virgo, it seemed like he opened up a room, but he was actually physically slashing Virgo, adding the slashing power of the Oppi Oppi no Mi on top of Kikoku, so it looked like he actually did, like, slice Virgo in half, like, through his haki. I believe he's also used the blade to, like, block Doflamingo strings before. He used it in conjunction with Ragio Knife when he cut Treble, which, that was a badass scene there when he does the shambles and Luffy red hawks Doflamingo, and Treble's like, he's behind the throne and he looks down, he's like, wait a second, if Dofi's over there now, that means, oh shit. And Law's there, Law's grinning, he's like, hey Treble, how you doing? Radio knife, and just slices him in like 13 different sections. He's like, yeah, you're not pasting yourself back together from that for a while, right? So he uses his sort of the injection shot. When he was using injection shot, that's also a technique he uses in combination with his sword. But he uses it, you know, not as a cutting weapon more often than not. He usually just relies on the Oppi Oppi no Mi, this just serving as an extension of it. So maybe that's also a reason why it hasn't attained a meito yet. Like, he's using it, but he's not actually using it as intended. He's using it more as an extension of his devil fruit rather than an actual sword. So that's also a reason why it's not going to become like a Kokuto, or it's not going to gain its significance, because he's not slashing and dicing like Zoro would do with it, or like Mihawk or Shanks, right? So, yeah, I think that explains the reason why it doesn't have a meito. But let's talk about the curse now, alright? What is the curse? Now, it's so easy to just throw around like, you have a cursed sword. Oh, that's cool. That's edgy, because it's a sword and it's cursed, right? But you figure, you know what a curse means, right? A curse is not a good thing. It means to deal out some type of harm or punishment or even death to somebody. Dragging a cursed object around with you, not a good thing, okay? The curse that exists within the Kitetsu blades is one of just abject bloodlust, alright? The way that Ippon Matsu talked about the Kitetsu swords back at Logtown, he's like, yeah, the Kitetsu sword, anybody that picked up a Kitetsu blade, you know, it craves blood so much it would even take the blood of its user, and there's the reason why nobody even touches the damn things anymore. And I don't even, Ippon Matsu was so afraid of this curse, he didn't even want to sell it to Zoro, because he was afraid that if he sells this cursed sword to Zoro, and then Zoro were to die, like all the other bearers of Kitetsu, then it would go back to Ippon Matsu, the curse, right? So, the way that Zoro kind of got around, the Sandai Kitetsu curse does not usually come up a lot in One Piece. that's not because Oda forgot about it or anything. It's just because Zoro is like the perfect person to counter that curse. Because the Sandai Kitetsu and all of the Kitetsus have that level of bloodlust that kind of harkens back to the cursed blade of Muramasa. You know, the Muramasa, not that kind of Muramasa from the Bleach filler. Muramasa was an actual person. He was an actual swordsmith. That was the term I was looking for earlier, not sword master, swordsmith. He was a swordsmith that existed, I think, around 1500, so like right around the turn of the 16th century, and he created fantastic blades. Eventually, though, there was like a legend or folklore given to Muramasa. I think it was something that happened well after he died. You know, I think what happened was Muramasa lived in like the 16th century, and then he lived, and then he died. And then I think it was around the like 18th, 19th century is when this legend in the Edo period of Japan started popping up, where like Muramasa blades are cursed, and there was like kabuki theater focused around that legend. Okay, so I think it's something that just got added later on in his life. But the idea is that when a Muramasa blade is drawn, it is just so filled with bloodlust that if it does not taste blood from an enemy, it will taste blood from the user. Often resulting in the user's death. Okay, so when you draw a Muramasa blade, somebody's gotta die. Okay, and if not, then it's just gonna take, you know, you don't play around with the Muramasa blades, right? I also like to think that the varying levels of that curse increases depending on the level. The guard kept falling off or wobbly, so I had to shove Silly Putty in there. I have to restock my swords coming up. But anyway, I think it's different levels of the curse depending on that level of Kitetsu. The Sandai Kitetsu is the 3rd generation, so maybe the bloodlust isn't as bad. You go up to the Nidai, and it's even worse, and then the Shodai is like this crazy, because the Shodai was made by Kitetsu himself. This one was made, and the Nidai were both made by his descendants. This was made by Tenguyama Hitetsu. So, you know, there's bloodlust here, but not as much as like the Shodai. The Shodai is like a demon-possessed blade, like literally, probably, right? If Samurai Gandhi really does have that one. So that's the way I think of it. But yeah, when Zoro was at Logtown and he picked out the Sandai and he realized right away, this blade is cursed. Yeah. And he did that whole thing where he flipped it up and he's like, Ippon Matsu and Tashigi are like, you idiot, you know? And I think the blade kind of realized at that point, like, hey, wait a second. This guy's not like those other people that wielded me and that were all like, you know, pacifists or what, like, I will only use this blade to fight in self-defense. No. That's not how this works. I think as soon as Zoro picked up this blade, the blade was like, I like this guy, this green-haired bastard. I could see myself palling around with this guy. If I pal around with this guy, I'll get my taste of blood again. I can feel it. And so I think Zoro felt it too, because Zoro's already like I mean, Zoro does believe in Bushido, honor of a swordsman. He knows, you know, scars on the back are a swordsman's shame. He believes in all that stuff, but also Zoro can get pretty bloodthirsty every once in a while. He's tied to demonic aesthetic, and, you know, he has like Ashura, like a demon kind of thing appears behind him. So yeah, demons are definitely a thing that connect back to Zoro. So I think that's the reason why Zoro kind of counteracts the curse there, or they work like in a kind of like a symbiotic relationship here, right? So that's the way that curse works, okay? But what about the curse in Kikoku? Now, I know when you think of a cursed sword, you immediately think of the sword like cutting you or causing like blood to spill, but that's not necessarily the case here. Not every curse has to result in bloodshed. Not physical harm, but there are curses that could exist in psychological harm. Going back to the name of Kikoku, Oni's wail or ghost cry. What if this curse that exists in Kikoku is something more along the lines of, it doesn't actually cause physical harm, but like whenever you draw the blade or whenever you carry the blade around with you, you're constantly plagued by the screams and yells of all of the people the blade has, like, you know, their lives that they've stolen, like their souls get sucked out and stored in the blade. And like every time you try to go to bed, if you have this sword in your possession, you're like plagued with horrible nightmares of like, he's like, oh no, sword, be gone, demons. You know, like that's the curse that this sword extends. And Law, the reason he can use it is because Law just doesn't give a shit. Law has been through so much crap in his life. He's already haunted by probably the ghosts of his family, his mother, his father, his little sister that got killed during the Flevents crap, you know, with the amber lead sickness, and then the world government coming in and torching everything. And then Corazon and him loving him, and then him dying for Law's sake. With or without the cursed sword, Law probably has nightmares about Corazon and his family every once in a while. Probably pretty often, like night terrors and stuff. Like, because, you know, they're like, whoa, you left. Like, his dad appears. There's like, you got out, but we died. Why didn't you come back, son? You know, like, Law probably has night terrors like that. He lived a pretty... Look at this. Look at this. This expression right here that this little kid is making... He's seen some shit, right? Right? Yeah, okay. Oh, man, so I don't know how Law got his hands on the sword. I don't know how that happened. But I like to think that it was maybe something similar with Ippon Matsu, where, you know, somebody created the sword, and maybe the person, like the swordsmith that created Kikoku, maybe they were mentally disturbed, or, you know, maybe something happened with their family, and maybe something happened, like they committed seppuku with the blade, like the person that created the sword committed seppuku, and the curse, like, went into it, and then everybody since then has died, and it eventually ended up in a shop somewhere, and someone was too afraid to sell it. Law comes in and is like, I want that sword over there in the corner with the badass cross scabbard. And he's like, oh, sir, I can't sell you that. That's Kikoku. It doesn't have a rank, but it's cursed. I could hear the ghost crying from it every time I I draw the blade. And Law just sits there. He's like at the counter, and he's like, okay, buddy, you don't know me, but I've lived a pretty messed up life, all right? My entire family was wiped out when I was a little kid. Everybody I cared about, really, all my friends I went to school with. My entire town was torched. That nice nun down the street that was cool to me. Yeah, I was running down the street and I found her lifeless body on the ground, and I shook it for about an hour waiting for her to wake up, but she never did. Then I went home and saw my family, my dad, my mom, my little sister, Lamy. They're all dead. And then the one guy that tried to care about me and take me on and, you know, teach me about the wellness and greatness of life and try to cure my disease, he ended up getting killed by his brother. And I'm haunted by their ghosts pretty much every single night. So you know what? A couple extra dozen ghosts, that's fine. Come on, guys. So he picks up Kikoku, goes home, and he starts hearing like the whoa. He's like, oh yeah, hey, cool, that's awesome. Join the other ghosts of my past that are lining up behind me. And the ghosts are like, whoa, oh, this guy's not afraid of us. Oh, do we just keep doing it? I guess we just keep doing it. Whoa! You know, and Law's just such a badass. He's just used to it at this point. He's just like, yep. Because if it's a cursed blade, the curse has to exist somehow, right? I guess you could just say it's a curse in a really nebulous way where it's like those that wield Kikoku will have an unfortunate future. Well, Law has an unfortunate past, all right? Regardless, like well before he picked up Kikoku. Because we don't know when he got Kikoku, but he got it long after Flevens. He got it long after he joined up with the Doflamingo pirates, you know? Long after that is like probably at some point when he set on his own, that's when he ended up getting his hands on Kikoku, right? So he's Law's like 26 right now, right? So yeah, probably in his late teens, early 20s is when he finally found this, and he's just like, yeah, the curse of the former ones that, you know, wielded this sword, or the swordsmith's ghost haunting me in the night. Pfft, osh posh bagosh, that's fine, right? So yeah, that's something I want to think about Kikoku. That's the origin of the curse, right? So yeah, I admit it's headcanon. I get it's just my fan fiction brain going crazy with that. But can you see it? Can you kind of see it? I kind of wish at some point that it is brought up. And this is the perfect time for this to happen, really, because Law's in Wano, Zoro's in Wano, and Zoro has this. Now, you know, it might be until after the battle's over, but I could totally see, because the Nida Iketetsu, I still feel like that needs to be addressed. Like, yeah, they gave it back to Tengu. I guess he's going to keep it in his shack, but who knows? Maybe during the battle with Kaido, the Sandai Kitetsu's gonna break or something. And when it breaks, then Zoro's gonna need another sword. It's like, you're gonna need another sword? How many swords do you need? I just need 3, but they keep breaking. Well, I had to give back Shusui or whatever. I think Shusui's just gonna stay in Wano, but then he's gonna be like, all right, but I can give you the Nidai, I guess, but just understand it's a cursed sword. And man, that would be the perfect time for us to get a chapter of exposition about cursed blades and what the curses actually are, right? Like the origin of the curses. Why are the Katetsu blades cursed? You know, was the original Katetsu like a demon? You know, what did he actually do to get the blades cursed? And Law could be there too. Law could chime in and be like, yeah, my sword is a cursed blade as well. The curse, you know, happens, you know, I can hear the voices every time I draw it of all the people that have been slain by its blade. And Tengu is just like, and you're fine with that. And he's like, it's actually kind of nice. It's like white noise. It rocks me to sleep, kind of, you know? Like, I'm like that, honestly. Like, not the ghosts of the damned, but, you know, I'm one of those people. I need to have something on in the background when I go to bed. So, in the winter, I have, like, that little heater back there. I have that running. Or in the summer, I have my air... I need to have some sort of sound in the background or I can't fall asleep. And so maybe Law's like that, too. Law needs some white noise, too. So, he curls up with Kikoku, and he's, like, going to bed. Like, night, Beppo, night, Penguin, night, Sachi, night, Captain. That's good. You know, it's like, you will be cursed by the blood of my family. That's nice. That's good. It's like, get in line. All right, so yeah, that's Kikoku. That's Law's Blade. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And no, I'm not gonna. In case any of you out there actually took that to be serious, no, we're not gonna be focusing the entire channel on just One Piece sword-related content from now on, right? Although we could make some videos about it. Is Wano. There's a lot of other swords to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, everybody. This will be Tekking signing out. Be gone, spirits! Be gone!